What if Sanji, the charming, kick-happy chef from One Piece, suddenly found himself in the ruthless, monster-infested dungeon gate world of solo leveling? Imagine the chaos. This world where hunters battle deadly beasts in dungeons to protect humanity, all governed by a mysterious leveling system. Now, picture Sanji armed with his black leg style, his unbeatable culinary skills, and a heart of gold, thrust into this new, unforgiving reality. How would he adapt? Would his cooking become a game-changing tool for fellow hunters, or would his martial arts prowess rise to the occasion? Could Sanji's unique blend of personality and abilities make him a force to be reckoned with in this dark, battle-heavy world? In solo leveling, our protagonist, Mr. Sung Jin Woo, gains power through leveling up, facing vicious monsters and unlocking new skills. But with Sanji, there's no ordinary path. He's not just a cook, he's a fighter with a fiery will and iron feet. His expertise in combat and cooking would make him a valuable asset to any team. But even in a world where survival often trumps morality, could Sanji's strong sense of chivalry, especially his refusal to harm women, survive the deadly trials of solo leveling? Let's dive into what happens when Sanji becomes a hunter as we explore how his cooking, strength, and heart collide in this gritty, action-packed universe. When Sanji enters the world of solo leveling, his first challenge isn't the monsters, it's understanding the system itself, and him being the player. In this world, hunters are ranked by their power, given magical abilities by the system, and tasked with diving into dangerous dungeons to fight terrifying beasts. For Sanji, this isn't a world of swords and ships, but one of strange rules and overwhelming power. But with his culinary skills and kicking power, Sanji is more than equipped to carve his own path in this world. First off, Sanji's cooking would become a game changer. In solo leveling, after a tough dungeon raid, hunters are often battered, bruised, and exhausted, but just imagine Sanji with his deep knowledge of rare ingredients and ability to cook under pressure, crafting meals that could restore stamina and even temporarily boost a hunter's abilities. Hunters would line up to taste his dishes, a hearty soup made with monster's meat that restores stamina, or a dessert crafted from magical plants that accelerates healing, right? These meals wouldn't just be food, they'd become essential tools in a hunter's arsenal. Sanji's culinary talent could quickly make him a coveted support figure in any dungeon party, proving that food isn't just for the body, but for the soul, and perhaps even the leveling system itself. However, Sanji isn't just a cook. He's one of the most skilled blackleg kick-style fighters in One Piece, and that skill would translate perfectly in the solo leveling world. Sanji's blackleg style relies on agility, precision, and devastating kicks. In solo leveling, where battles are intense and unforgiving, his power, lightning-fast kicks, would be perfect for combat against dungeon beasts. His ability to move at high speeds while landing devastating blows would make him an invaluable asset in clearing dungeons. But what makes Sanji truly dangerous is his adaptability. While he may not initially understand the nuances of the leveling system, his relentless determination and fighting spirit could quickly push him forward. The key lies in his ability to learn and adapt. Sanji, ever the resourceful fighter, might adapt his blackleg techniques to this new world. Imagine him fusing his fiery Diable Jambe with this system, creating explosive kicks that leave monsters obliterated in his wake. The combination of his raw power and the system's magic could turn Sanji into a force of nature, a hunter who not only excels in close combat but also innovates, finding ways to push his own limits. Combining this with his Vinsmoke attributes, enhanced by the system, Sanji will become a force to be reckoned with. Yet in a world so driven by power and rank, Sanji's principles would pose an interesting challenge. In solo leveling, survival often means sacrificing morality. But for Sanji, chivalry is as ingrained as his ability to fight. His refusal to harm women would place him in an uncomfortable situation, especially when facing female monsters or even ruthless huntresses. How would he handle these encounters? Would he find ways to protect his principles, possibly relying on non-lethal takedowns, or creative strategies to avoid conflict with women, even if it meant putting himself at a disadvantage? Sanji's skills would make him a standout hunter, but it's his heart, his unshakable loyalty to his nakama, that could give him the edge. Whether it's cooking meals to heal a wounded teammate, or facing overwhelming odds to protect those he cares about, Sanji's presence would make a lasting impact in this dark and dangerous world. He wouldn't just be a fighter, he'd be a protector, blending his kicking martial arts, cooking, and his heart into a unique role that no one else could fill. Sanji's journey as a hunter in the solo leveling world wouldn't just be defined by his skills or his battles. It would be deeply shaped by his personality and the internal struggles he faces as he navigates this unforgiving universe. In One Piece, Sanji is known for his charm, his unwavering loyalty, and his relentless pursuit of his dreams. But in the harsh world of solo leveling, these qualities would be put to the test in ways he never imagined. Sanji's chivalrous nature, specifically his refusal to harm women, would create some fascinating challenges. In the world of solo leveling, the line between friend and foe is often blurred. Some of the most dangerous enemies Sanji could face might be women, powerful, high-ranking hunters, or even deadly female monsters. How would Sanji, whose principles are deeply rooted in his personal code, deal with the necessity of killing or severely injuring a female opponent? Sanji's quick thinking and resourcefulness would come into play in this situation, right? Rather than resorting to brute force, he might use his agility and precise kicking techniques to neutralize his enemies without causing lasting harm. A non-lethal takedown might be his go-to strategy, even if it meant putting himself at risk. There's a certain level of risk in maintaining his moral high ground, but Sanji's unflinching beliefs would ensure that he found ways to survive without compromising his integrity. He might even start to develop clever techniques for immobilizing his opponents, drawing on his creativity as a chef to invent new traps or using his surroundings to his advantage, right? On top of his chivalry, Sanji's dream of the All Blue would give him an additional driving force in the solo leveling world. The All Blue, the mythical sea where all oceans meet, represents Sanji's unrelenting desire for the ultimate adventure. In this world of solo leveling, that dream could evolve into a quest for the rarest and most legendary ingredients, possibly even ones tied to different dimensions. Legends of a dungeon where ingredients from every realm are stored would catch Sanji's attention. The possibility of finding ingredients that could enhance his cooking and maybe even unlock special abilities would drive him to face even greater dangers. He wouldn't be just hunting monsters, he'd be hunting for the ultimate culinary treasure, blending his love for food and his insatiable thirst for adventure. In this world, however, Sanji's reliance on his own moral compass could create tensions with other hunters, especially the more ruthless and pragmatic individuals he encounters. While many hunters are guided solely by the rank and reward system, Sanji's vision extends beyond simply gaining power. He sees the world through a lens of a chef and a dreamer, and that often puts him at odds with others who are willing to sacrifice anything for personal gain. Whether it's dealing with a cutthroat hunter or navigating the morally gray situations that come with dungeon raiding, Sanji's principles will often challenge him to find new ways to remain true to himself while also adapting to this admittedly dangerous world. The internal conflict would fuel much of Sanji's development as a character in the solo leveling universe. As he pushes forward, his experiences and relationships would force him to reevaluate his beliefs, adapting to new circumstances and continue evolving as both a hunter and a man. However, one thing would remain constant: his loyalty to his friends and his drive to become the greatest hunter and chef the world has ever seen. Sanji's journey as a hunter in the solo leveling universe would not just be defined by his cooking or moral struggles, but by the epic battles he would face, of course. His reputation as a powerful fighter would quickly spread across the world of hunters, drawing attention from both allies and enemies. However, the challenges Sanji faces aren't just about brute strength. He's constantly evolving, using his creativity and resourcefulness to push past his limits. In the early stages, Sanji's combat abilities would undoubtedly be a sight to behold. His blackleg style, honed over years of fighting in the One Piece world, would translate perfectly in the solo leveling universe. His speed and agility would make him a nightmare in combat, as he's able to dodge attacks with ease and land these devastating kicks. Against weaker monsters, Sanji would make quick work of them, kicking through their defenses with precision and power. However, as the battles grow tougher, he would be forced to adapt and push beyond his current abilities. Sanji's growth would take an interesting turn once he begins to learn about the system's magic and how to incorporate it into his techniques. While the system's leveling mechanics seem complex, Sanji's ability to adapt would allow him to utilize the power of magic to enhance his combat skills. Imagine Sanji combining his fiery Diable Jambe with magic-based techniques. His kicks, already explosive, would become even more powerful, combining the force of his kicks with the magic of the solo leveling world. Perhaps Sanji would even create a Gomu Gomu no Fire kick, a fiery explosive attack that could obliterate high-ranking monsters with a single blow, as an homage to his captain. Sanji, as we've already seen, is the superhuman created by Germa66, and his particular abilities include fire and invisibility, so it's safe to say that Sanji will choose a class more related to stealth, like the assassin class, giving him an element of surprise on his side, all while avoiding fights with female villains if needed. One of the biggest changes would be Sanji's use of food as both a tactical advantage and a form of self-healing. His culinary expertise, combined with his understanding of the system's powers, could lead him to creating food-based buffs, meals that enhance his strength, restore stamina, or provide temporary resistance to damage. For example, a hearty dish made from the meat of a dungeon beast could act as a temporary buff to Sanji's physical abilities, giving him an edge when facing high-ranking monsters. While many hunters rely on weapons or pure combat skills, Sanji's abilities to use food as a weapon makes him a unique asset in dungeon battles. However, as the challenges intensify, so does the pressure. Facing high-ranking monsters and dungeon bosses would push Sanji to his limits. The monsters he encounters wouldn't be the typical threats he faced back in the One Piece world. Instead, he's up against creatures with terrifying abilities, immune to traditional attacks. Sanji's grit would be tested as he fights through increasingly difficult opponents. He wouldn't have the automatic leveling system that some hunters rely on, meaning that each battle requires not just his strength, but his ability to strategize and use his environment to his advantage. Over time, Sanji's abilities would evolve. As he continues to level up, he might unlock new system-granted abilities that tie into his cooking skills. Imagine Sanji being able to summon fiery attacks directly from his Diable Jambe, or creating powerful food-based energy blasts that can heal allies or deal massive damage to monsters. His growth would be more than just physical. It would involve unlocking new ways to use his unique skills in combat, blending the best of both worlds, martial arts and culinary mastery. With each battle, Sanji's bonds with his fellow hunters would deepen. He'd fight alongside his new nakama, hunters who value not just strength, but loyalty and camaraderie. Sanji might even train others, teaching them how to fight or to cook, passing on his skills while learning from others. As he continues to grow as a hunter, his confidence would rise and he would solidify his place in this world. But deep down, he would always be driven by his dream to become the greatest hunter and chef the world has ever seen, while protecting the people he cares about and chasing the next big adventure.